guys, welcome back. The amp of the week is the Precision Power ICE2600.1D. Right here on the amp it says black ice, but in the model number it just says ICE2600.1D. So I have done all of my other videos. I'm shooting this last, but it will be what you see first. I kind of like that because now I have a little bit of knowledge. I've messed with it a lot. I've played with it for a while. I've done all my testing and I just have a little more info. When I do the overview first before I ever try it, I feel like I can't speak as well on what I do or don't like about the amp. Anyhow, first let's just get to what's in the box. The only thing in the box right now is packing materials because I've taken everything else out. You do get a pretty nice manual. There's some good stuff in here. I did enjoy the manual. The ratings are on the second to last page. We'll talk about those in a second. Your cable for your bass knob. This is a plastic bass knob. No lights on it. I'm not the biggest fan of the potentiometer on this one. So this isn't one of the real smooth bass knobs. This is the one that has clicks. Anyhow, got a bass knob, so that's good. And then you get one extra fuse and some mounting screws and an amplifier. So I'm gonna tell you, this amp, it's got some weight to it. It's a little hefty. When I first got it, I picked it up when UPS dropped it off, and I knew instantly, uh-oh, that amp might put out some good power. I receive a lot of amps in the mail, and I can make a pretty good first impression just based off of things like that. Now, that don't mean everything. Sometimes a heavy amp don't do well, and sometimes a light amp does real well. But anyhow, let's look at this end. So you've got the Precision Power, which I think is cool. Precision Power is an old school brand. Back in the day, when I got into car audio, back in about 92, Precision Power had out the white amps that had the art on them. Super cool looking amps. I thought they were probably some of the best looking amps out at the time. The shop that I used to go to all the time, we had two shops. One shop had Orion and MTX, and the other shop had Rockford Fosgate and Precision Power, and they both had cheaper brands as well, like the shop that had I should incorporate more stories for you guys like I'm doing right now, but the shop that had Rockford and Precision Power also had stuff like Acoustic, and the shop that had MTX and Orion had stuff like Urban. Anyhow, so I have never messed with a Precision Power amp. Old school, new school, this is my first one, but it is a brand that I've always kind of respected. So let's just, I like the looks of this amp. It's different than any amp I've ever had. It says Precision Power right there. This is a little bit unique. You have input RCAs, they're not Tiffany style. And then for the outs, you have the master out or the slave in. Instead of just having one, it's got both. That's a little different than what we usually see. You've got your gain, the subsonic from 20 hertz to 50 hertz, bass EQ from 0 dB to 12 dB, and then a low pass filter for 40 hertz to 220 hertz. So most of the settings that people like nowadays, always good to see that subsonic and low pass, because then you can create a bandwidth for your subs to play within. This is the Class D mono block, by the way. Here's your remote out, a power light and a protect light, and then right there, ICE2600.1D. The other end. All right, so you do only get a single positive and negative out for your speaker. You do have the angled terminals, which I'm not a fan of. You'll see in the Dyno Runs, I've got the amp sitting up on top of this box so that the wires can come down like this and have a little bit of extra room. 3 40 amp fuses. That's nice. That should tell us a little bit of something about what we might see out of this amp. Will we see times 10? 120 amps of fusing. Will we see 1200 watts? You guys know that most of the time we do not see, I hope this isn't too blurry, that we usually do not see times 10, but occasionally an amp will do times 10 or more. And then over here, positive, remote, ground. These are 4 gauge and these are 8 gauge. I was able to get 8 gauge in here with ferrules, 4 gauge in here with ferrules. And the back, I did not take the back plate off of this amp. I'm gonna try to resell this amp, and it's got the sticker on it, and I just don't want to mess that up for somebody. But I will tell you this, you can see a little bit through there. I see a couple of decent sized transformers, and over here I can see a couple of decent sized capacitors. Cool looking board, red board. I would like to see the guts on this myself, but again, I want somebody to be able to buy this amp. They're going to get it a little cheaper than what I paid, but I want them to feel good about it, like they're buying a brand new amp. So this one, I'm not going to take the back plate off because I don't want to mess up that sticker. You guys know sometimes I take the plate off, sometimes I don't. All right, let's get to the ratings. Right here they are. Hopefully that is zoomed okay. We have this amp right here, the ICE2600.1D, RMS at 4 ohms, RMS at 2 ohms, RMS at 1 ohm. So 600 watts at 4, 900 watts at 2, 1300 watts at 1, and then the 2600 that's on the box is a max rating. So we know how we feel about max ratings, but will it at least do the RMS ratings? Definitely stay tuned for that. Look at the other amps in this. It'd be cool to try out some of these others. There's a 5000.1 and the 7000.1. This is interesting to me on the 7000.1. It has a half ohm rating of 3500 watts. This is the first amp that I've seen that was rated to go to half ohm for like a budget amp. All right, well, there she is. Oh, one other thing, there isn't anything on the box that's not in the manual, but sorry about that, my dog. But I thought this was cool. This thing has a 24 dB crossover, and usually you get 12, but this has a 24 dB crossover. And so what that means is when you set the crossovers, if you set a low pass at 25 hertz, well, it's going to have a slope at 25, and it's actually going to play some of those other frequencies below 25, but it's going to slope off on how much power it will play those. A 24 dB has a sharper cutoff, and it's usually kind of nice to have a crossovers that'll cut off a little sharper, in my opinion. So that's something different that I don't usually see on budget amps either. But anyhow, let's get into these dyno runs. All right, real quick, I wanted to clarify something. I just got through talking about setting the low pass at 25 hertz and how the 24 dB crossover would work compared to like a 12. I was thinking of subsonic. On an amp like this, you're gonna set the low pass somewhere around 80 hertz and the subsonic filter somewhere around 25 or 30 hertz. Watch some videos to see about what you need to do. There's a lot that goes into figuring out what you need to set your subsonic at. But a subsonic filter is basically a high pass. So I definitely spoke wrong there when I was talking about setting the low pass filter at 25. Sorry about that. All right, here's the 4 ohm test, the Precision Power Black Ice 2600.1D. The rating on this run is 600 watts at 4 ohms RMS. Is she gonna do her rated power? We already know that the 2600 is a max rating, but let's see if it can do the RMS ratings that's in the manual. Okay, again, this run right here, 4 ohms, is rated 600 watts. Can she do it? This is a 40 hertz test tone, by the way. This is the Class D monoblock. So all these runs will be at 40 hertz. Can she do the 600? Oop. Forgot to turn the amp on. 600. Can she do it? No, 434. The voltage dropped to 14.6, so we had some good strong voltage. The current draw was 39.0. Again, that's what she did at 4 ohms. She was rated 600. Let's see what she can do at 2 ohms. All right, it's the 2 ohm test. Rated 900 watts. Can she do 900? Let's get our focus right. 900 is what we're looking for. $758. No, she fell a little short. The voltage dropped to 14.5, and the current draw was 75.0 amps. Okay, let's see what she can do at 1 ohm. All right, it's that 1 ohm test, rated 1300 watts RMS at 1 ohm. Can she do it? Let's find out. No, not quite. Not quite. The voltage dropped to 14.3, and the current draw was 138.8. All right, she fell a little short of that 1 ohm test. Anyhow, all right, guys. Hey, make sure you check out the video where we listened to this thing on a couple of SCAR 12s. All right, thanks for watching. All right, guys, just a quick recap before I go hook this thing up to the SCAR 12s. Here's what she did. 4 ohms, she was rated 600, did 434. 2 ohms, rated 900, did 758. 1 ohm, rated 1300, and did 1177. So it fell short on every run, which is a bummer. Especially when they give this big rating on the box, and then they give you RMS ratings as well. And it doesn't do the RMS ratings, but I will say this. This is a pretty good deal for this amp. This amp is not a whole lot over $100. It's just barely over 100 is what I paid for this. I'd have to look it up. I want to say with shipping now, maybe it was 122 or something like that. But anyhow, to do almost 1200 watts RMS for that price, I do like it. This amp is kind of a pretty nice amp for a budget amp. So I can't knock on it too much. I do feel like it's one of the better budget amps for what you get and what you pay and the features on the amp. I do think this is maybe one of the better ones. Okay, all right, let's hook this thing up to a couple 12s and see what it sounds like. All right, guys, let's hear it. This is the Precision Power ICE2600.1D. Make sure you check out my other video. I might end up putting these 2 videos together. I'm gonna be honest with you, but you definitely want to check out and see what the power output of this amplifier was at 4 ohms, 2 ohms, 1 ohm, and now we're gonna listen to it on a couple of SCAR 12s. This amp is right in the sweet spot for a couple of subs like this. And in the process, we're going to see what kind of dynamic power we get. As always, we're going to listen to some royalty-free YouTube music so that we don't get any copyright strikes. All right, but up there on the top, see if I can focus. Okay, let's see what she sounds like. to take it easy on my neighbors. Sounded good. This is the dynamic power. I didn't turn it up all the way either, guys. I never did clip it. And anyhow, 1135 dynamically at 1.3. That's pretty good. Got a little rise in there. Again, this is a sweet spot for me to for a car that has no electrical upgrades. The power output of this paired with a couple of 12s like that, I don't know. It's a good match, in my opinion. All right. Well, there she is. Thanks so much for watching.